The fear when they were planning this particular NATO summit was to avoid a catastrophe. So it was all about sort of being happy, but making certain that Trump was happy. And that evidently succeeded. And that's a good thing, that NATO did not end with a crisis meeting of the sort that very many feared.
Yeah, because there was a lot of stress, Carl Bildt, over years, especially, in the interim period, seeing that Trump was coming back. What would that do to NATO? Would this be the end of NATO? Do you think that now has been put to rest?
Not necessarily. I mean, what's going to be critical if anything happens, what happens in that particular situation? If there is a Russian threat now we have the big Russian threat to Ukraine, which I think should be the pure focus of even NATO these days, but say that there is a threat to one of the NATO countries, then I think the exact circumstances of that and how Putin maneuvers with Trump will decide very much what happens. But there's still an element, to put it very mildly, of unpredictability to Donald Trump, which is somewhat unsettling.
Let's just talk again about the sort of the atmosphere around the summit. So there was a lot of attempt to appease Trump, to please Trump. Even Marco Rubio, his own Secretary of State, called it the Trump summit. And as you know, Trump posted what, I don't know, maybe was private messages from the NATO Secretary General, Mark Rutte, to him, praising him for the Iran situation, I mean, in very flattering language. And you then wrote on X, flattery is evidently the new bond of the Atlantic Alliance. I guess it replaced the more outdated concepts of common values and common threat perceptions. Do you worry about that, or is it just smart politics for all these leaders to not want to anger Trump? You remember there was a in his first term, there was a summit that nearly crashed and burned. They've got his number, and this is how they behave, and they get him to do things that they want him to do.
No, well, I mean, it is some smart policy to a certain extent, but you shouldn't overdo it. I mean, we have to be serious on these particular things. I mean, you don't rule the world with flattery. And I would, of course, have liked to NATO to focus somewhat more on what actually should be done to counter the Russian threat in Ukraine, what should have been done to increase support for Ukraine, both American support, which seems to be declining, if I talk about military and financial support, and what needs to be done in order to beef up the European support.